Hello, this is cjhoyle. Today is Saturday, August the 28th, 2021, and today I'm here in the city of Kingston waterfront, and welcome to day one of my solo canoeing adventure on the Rideau Canal. As you can see, I've got all my gear loaded up inside the canoe. Now it's time for me to get inside and paddle out that way into Lake Ontario before making my way up the Cataraqui River. First opening 189 years ago, the Rideau Canal connects together the cities of Kingston and Ottawa through a series of 47 locks. Over the course of the next 10 days, I'm planning on solo canoeing this historic route and camping along the way. I did a similar trip to this last summer on the Trent Severn Waterway, and I've been looking forward to doing the same here on the Rideau Canal ever since. These clips that you're seeing now were filmed by my dad, who woke up very early this morning to give me and the canoe a drive out to Kingston so I could begin my journey. So things are nice and sheltered here inside this marina, but as soon as I go past this rock wall up ahead, I'll be out in Lake Ontario, and there could be a fair bit of wind out there. Over there in the distance you can see a bunch of wind turbines which are spinning. That's over on Wolfe Island, which is a community that's accessed by ferry from here in Kingston. So now I've paddled out of that marina, and over there you can see a closer look at Wolfe Island. And over here is the historic Fort Henry and the Royal Military College. And I'm going to be heading over this way, heading up the Cataraqui River, and that bridge that you can see up ahead is the Salle Causeway, which I'll need to paddle underneath of. Over here to my right is the Wolfe Islander 3 ferry, the ferry which takes people back and forth from Kingston to Wolfe Island, and it's going to be pulling in at that ferry dock over there, so I'm going to wait here and let it get ahead of me. 2 years ago, I took that ferry across to Wolfe Island on one of my bike tours, and I spent a night camping over on Wolfe Island. So I've just about reached the Salle Causeway bridge here, which for larger vessels it's able to open up, but should be able to fit pretty easily underneath of there. So coming underneath of that bridge, I've now entered the Cataraqui River, which is also the beginning of the Rideau Canal route. Spanning a total distance of 202 kilometers and including a total of 47 locks, the Rideau Canal travels from here in Kingston all the way to the Ottawa River up in the city of Ottawa. On this trip, I'm planning on traveling that entire distance and seeing all of those locks. Straight ahead, I'm heading towards an island called Bell Island, and according to the weather forecast, the wind is supposed to be from the south today, but so far it actually seems to be coming from the north, and I'm heading straight into it, but thankfully it's not very strong. There's a great blue heron over there perched on Bell Island. Straight ahead I can see a new bridge that's going in across the Cataraqui River here in Kingston. I believe it connects up with a road over there on the left, which is called John Counter Boulevard. This segment of the Cataraqui River is quite wide, so that new bridge has a pretty long distance to span. So here's an up-close look at that bridge which is under construction. And just beyond it you can see they have a temporary bridge which they built, which I'm assuming they're using to help with the construction. And there's even a section in the middle there which looks like it's a lift bridge. There's another look at that temporary bridge. It needs to be able to lift to get out of the way for larger boats to be able to pass underneath of it. The next obstacle that I've got up ahead is Highway 401, which has a bridge over here somewhere towards the right that I'll be paddling underneath of. Also paddling in this river this morning is a woman in a kayak with her dog. So the time is now about 10:20 and I've paddled about 7.7 kilometers so far, and there you can see the 401 bridge, which I'm just about to pass underneath of. Beyond this bridge the river narrows, and I should have a couple of locks coming up pretty soon. Up ahead you can see the river narrowing right down, and over here on my left there's this big rock face. The Kingston area is known for its limestone, or in other words sedimentary rock, but I must have headed further north beyond there, as I now seem to be in the Canadian Shield. So here's my first look at the Kingston Mills locks, with a bridge over top for the CN railway line. You can see they're emptying the water out of the lower lock there. The first locks that I'll be going through are actually a flight of 3 locks, and there's another lock further up a little bit past here. There's a total of 4 locks here at Kingston Mills. So there they're opening up the gates, and you can see a train heading over top of the bridge there. And they got a couple of boats inside there which will make their way out, and then I'll head my way inside. Alright, so I've been given the go-ahead to head my way inside of this lock, which is lock number 49. As you can see, I've got some company here inside this lock. So back behind me you can see that they're closing the gates of the lock. So on the bottom side they've closed the drain valves, and you can see up there they're now opening up the fill valves, which will gradually start letting water into this chamber. So these locks were built back in 1827, and you can see that they're made out of stone as opposed to concrete, and many other aspects of the locks have been maintained in their original form. This is my first time paddling through one of these old historic Rideau Canal locks. I have, however, traveled through nearly all of the Trent Severn Waterway locks, and my first observation is that these locks seem to fill a lot slower on this canal. Alright, so we've made it up to the top of Lock 49. Now they're opening up the gates for me and the other kayak to head on into the next lock. Alright, so I'm now inside Lock 48, and it seems like it's just started raining a little bit. Not very heavy though. Well, that rain didn't amount to too much, and even though there is pretty much no sunshine, I'm going to take this opportunity waiting in this lock to put on some sunscreen. Alright, so we made it up to the top of Lock 48. Now they're opening up the gates for us to make our way inside Lock 47. As another noisy train passes behind me on that bridge, they've now opened up the fill valves and we're making our way up to this lock. So just beyond this lock there's a small basin, and just beyond there there's another lock, lock number 46, which is where I'm heading next. And over here you can see some of the old historic buildings of the Kingston Mills Lockstation. Here's lock number 46. Up above me in this lock there's a bridge for a road called Kingston Mills Road, and I believe it's a swing bridge that can swing out of the way for taller vessels that are inside here. Alright, so now 4 locks complete, and I've got a bunch more paddling to do. So the water opens up from here into a lake which is called Colonel By Lake. Colonel By was the engineer who designed the Rideau Canal and oversaw the construction. So this is a fitting name for this lake, because this lake wouldn't exist if it wasn't for him. It would just be more of the river. As you can see, the wind is still from the north, and I'm still going to be heading straight into it. This rock face over on my right confirms that I'm definitely now in the Canadian Shield region. Over there on my right I can see the Rideau Acres campground, but otherwise this lake seems to be almost entirely undeveloped. So straight over that way to my left there's a set of narrows which lead to another water body, and that's the route of the canal, which is where I'm heading towards. This side of Colonel By Lake has a couple of cottages or homes, and straight ahead there you can see a closer look at those narrows that I'll be paddling through. So the time is now 12 noon, and I paddled about 12.5 kilometers. So far the water seems to be pretty quiet today. I've seen very few other boats out on the water. Perhaps because the weather doesn't seem to be that sunny, not that many people wanted to come out today. As per these signs here, there's an oil pipeline that runs underneath of the water through the narrows here. So the narrows now open back up again, and this water body which is straight ahead of me is called the River Styx. It's interesting that they decided to call it a river, even though it's actually a fair bit larger than the lake that I just paddled through. Straight up ahead I can see a houseboat making their way down through the canal system, and you'll also notice that the wind on this lake is also oriented against me, so I'll be paddling straight into it as I continue my day. Along here you can see some very old looking cottages. So the time is now about 12:45, and I paddled 15 kilometers so far, and my plan is that I'm going to take a break over there, hopefully from the shelter from that point, to stop and have some lunch. So just as I had hoped, things seem to be a fair bit calmer over here, so I'll get a nice little break from the wind. So I've got the canoe tied up to this tree here, and on the menu for my lunch today I've got some leftover pizza. Alright, so I've now finished my lunch and I'm ready to continue, and as you can see, while I was eating my lunch, the clouds went away, the sky became blue, and the sun came out. Up ahead I can see an unusual land formation over there, which I believe is an island. I can see some kayakers over there who are working their way up north along this river. So this island here that I've been paddling towards, according to the map, is called Green Island. It's probably one of the least green islands I've ever seen before. The island appears to be mostly inhabited by the double-crested cormorant, a species of bird which has a reputation for destroying all the vegetation in the areas where they live because of the high acidity of their feces. I've been seeing dozens of these sunken trees, which is an indication to me that this river must have been a lot smaller than this before the Rideau Canal was built. By building the dams, they've raised the water levels here by quite a bit. So I paddled a bit more than halfway up the River Styx, and up ahead there in the distance on the right side, I can see a water tower and a stack, and it kind of looks like that might be a small town there, but that's actually a prison. That's a pretty well disguised boat. Can you see it? So the prison that you can see there is called the Joyceville Institution. It was built back in 1959, and it's a Canadian medium security prison. Now that's not something you see every day. Those guys are not on jet skis, they're actually on snowmobiles. Sure hope they don't sink. back on the land again. There's another look at the Joyceville Institution, and apparently just beyond there was another prison called the Pittsburgh Institution. I'm now paddling past an island called Pete Crow Island. Notice how much more green this one is compared to the last. This one appears to be mostly inhabited by the Canada geese, a species which is definitely not nearly as destructive. There are quite a few mute swans down towards this end of the river, and you can see some of them are sort of a brown color, and I believe those are young swans, or in other words, the ugly ducklings. And this is the noise that mute swans make. So I've just about reached the end of the River Styx now, and things will narrow back down into the Cataraqui River. So the time is now about 3 p.m. and I paddled about 22 kilometers so far, and I believe that the remainder of my paddling today should be through nice narrow riverway like this, which is actually what I prefer paddling through. My planned destination is the Upper Brewers Lock, where I'm hoping to camp tonight. The reason I prefer paddling through narrow stuff like this is because the scenery is constantly changing. What you can see right now, in about 5 minutes, it will be behind me and I'll be seeing new stuff. Whereas when you're on a much bigger water body, the things that you can see in the distance stay in the distance for a really long time. Over on the left side here, beyond this marsh, you can see there's a farmer's field with straw bales. Here's an apple tree that seems to be fully fruiting. Don't mind if I do. This part of the river is just so nice, quiet, and peaceful. I've had the whole place to myself, although back behind me you can see 3 kayakers who are coming up behind me. Those are the same 3 kayaks that I saw earlier who passed me, but then they took a picnic break, and now they're catching back up to me again. So just up ahead I can see a boat that's docked, and just around the corner from there is lock number 45, Lower Brewers. And there's a turtle. I believe that's called a painted turtle. So over there to the left is the dam, and here is lock number 45. I don't seem to see any staff members up there, so I think I'll just dock my canoe here and I'll make my way up there to let them know that I'm here and want to make my way through the lock. So I let them know, and here they are opening up the gates for me to paddle inside. Alright, so here I am inside lock 45, and this one looks a bit higher than the ones that I've been through so far today. And as you can see, those other kayakers have joined me inside this lock. So here they're now adding water to the lock, raising us up to the upper level. Just beyond the top of the lock, you can see there's a swing bridge there, which is for a road called Washburn Road. And just surrounding this lock, there's a small community, which is also called Washburn. Alright, so here they open up the locks, and I'm continuing my way up. They said the next lock is about 2 kilometers forward. So here's a look back at the lock station, and as you can see, things open up into a little bit of a basin here, but further over that way they narrow back down into the sort of width that I was just paddling through. This portion of the Cataraqui River seems to be equal parts forest and fields or farmland. Up ahead I've got a bridge to paddle underneath of. This one's for a road called Sunbury Road, and just beyond there in the distance I can see the beginning of the Upper Brewers Lock. So over that way I can see a bridge over the river, and over here is the lock number 44 and 43, which make up the Upper Brewers Lock, a twin flight of locks. And this is where I'm planning on camping tonight. Alright, so here I am at the lock, and they're just opening up the gates. My plan is to take the lock up to the top side of the lock, and I'm planning on camping up towards the top so that I can get started nice and early tomorrow morning before the lock station even opens. So here I'm making my way up through lock 44. Alright, so now making my way inside lock 43. Alright, so here they're opening up the gates, and I'll make my way out of lock number 43. So I've now purchased my $5 camping permit, and my plan is to unload the canoe here, and I think I'm probably going to camp somewhere around here near that picnic table. Alright, so as you can see, I've now got all my stuff out of the water here, and my plan now is to set up my tent in case it starts raining. So as you can see, I've now got my tent set up. Now let's take a walk to explore some of my surroundings. So here's a look at the staff operating the locks from the outside. All the footage that I took earlier today was from when I was down inside of the lock. And over here is the lock station building, which has washrooms complete with a shower. As far as I know, most of the lock stations on the Rideau Canal don't have showers, so this is somewhat of a luxury. Just below Lock 43 is Lock 44, which I also came through today. And down at the bottom of this one, you can see over here some authentics. Authentics are essentially a cross between a cabin and a tent, and they're offered at a select few set of lock stations on this system. They also have authentics at some of the national parks in Canada. So the time is now about 6 p.m. and I'm just getting ready to sit down for some dinner. On the menu tonight, I'm planning on making a sandwich with some of this spicy Thai chili tuna. And I'll probably also have an apple with it. These are the apples that I picked from that tree on the canal. So I'll try those and see how those are. But if those don't taste very good, I do have a store-bought apple that I can have as a backup. If you've seen my videos from my solo canoeing adventure on the Trent Severn Waterway, you may recall that on that trip, I was fortunate enough to go to a restaurant almost every night during my trip. On this trip, however, because many of the log stations are located in communities which are really small that don't have any restaurants, I'll be relying much more on bringing packaged foods with me and eating those for my meals. There's my delicious looking tuna on the bread, and I forgot to mention that I'm also planning on having a can of mixed vegetables because it's always important to make sure you get your vegetables. Much like on that previous trip, on this trip I've elected not to bring any type of refrigeration devices or cooking devices with me, which means that on the situations when I'm not eating at restaurants, most of my food will be non-perishable and not heated up, which I'm perfectly fine with. It's good to see that the Rideau Canal believes in recycling. This tiny wild apple is actually quite good. Don't worry, I gave it a thorough rinsing before eating it. Alright, so I'm now going to get my overnight oats breakfast ready for tomorrow. So I've got this couch of dry ingredients, and all I need to do is add some drinking water to it, and tomorrow morning this should turn into a delicious oatmeal type breakfast that I can enjoy out on the water to energize me and help get me to my destination. So anyway, that will pretty much wrap things up in terms of day one of this trip. My total paddling distance today was 27.9 kilometers, which seemed to take quite a long time. Pretty much that always happens on the first day of a trip. The distances just seem to accumulate really slowly. It seems to just take forever to get to where you're going to. But after you've got through the first day, usually it gets a lot easier than that. But I really did still enjoy it. It was a lot of fun. Having the wind against me though, even though it wasn't very strong, did make things a little bit more challenging. But again, still a really enjoyable day on the water. I started my day this morning. I woke up at 5 a.m. so it's now about 7:30 in the evening, and I'm feeling like, yeah, I'm probably ready to sort of lie down and relax a little bit. Because I am hoping to get another really nice early start tomorrow, so I can enjoy the nice, stillness of the water before the sun comes out and things potentially start to get more windy again. Should have approximately the same distance to do again tomorrow as I continue my way, paddling up through the system. I should also mention that the section of the canal that I've done so far, I have been paddling against the current. Now, most of the time the water has been very wide and you really can't even detect that there's any kind of a current at all. But for the first couple of days of my trip, I am sort of working my way up locks when eventually I'll reach Newborough, which is the middle, and then I'll start to eventually work my way back down as elevation goes down as I head towards Ottawa. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed joining me for day number 1 of this trip. If you watched all the way to the end of this video, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below, and thanks for watching.